little story there too. Got a master here, a little story or two. Things that meant to have an effect. If any priest worth his collar knew what to do at a mass would be a lot more effective. I'd have you all hugging each other. And then you turn to show each other sign of peace. It's meant to be a kind of magic trick you do. You take the snake off everybody's head for a brief moment. And they'll be so loving and understanding they'll hug each other. Leave mass, and a few hours later it'll come back. You're meant to achieve this in mass, they don't do it. They don't even know what they're fucking doing. Anyway, I'll tell you a story or two. Stories. There's a guy, he was like King David, you know. Weird things happened on the battlefield around him, nobody could hit him, you know, like, and people kind of realised this, was on the battlefield and no one could hurt him. Fluke, weird things happened, and then they kind of tried it, and weird things happened every time someone tried to harm him. Something weird happened, and it just never happened, and they kind of thought it was interesting. He kept poking with it, and he kept poking with it and trying to. I kind of got a bit freaked out by him anyway, and they brought him out in a boat. And they put out like a chain, ball and chain around his ankle, and they fucked him over the boat. Pretty much didn't know what else really, you know, to do with him. Really wanting to like test, you know, like Muhammad Ali, like he was the best fighter in the world. He was the best fighter in the world. He still bet him to death. Like he still slowly and surely bet that man to death. Didn't prove anything beating him to death. You know what I mean? You bend until you break, or break until you break, or break. Like, didn't prove anything doing that. White man. It was a white man that bet him to death. He didn't do it, you know what I mean? Anyway, see, he sank down to the bottom of the ground, the ocean, and this guy, and as he's descending, loads of coral and a starfish started gathering around his face. King Seabird, you know what I mean? Yeah, lots of starfish and layers of coral and stuff that built around his face, and he could breathe through the underwater floor. And he could breathe, and he had his mask. And then he spent like about 10 or something, 12 years dragging this ball across the ocean floor with his mask on, this coral mask on, and he dragged the ball all the way across the ocean floor. Hills and ravines and up there and down there. And he came up upon what is modern day Florida, on a beach in Florida. And he rushed towards him and took the chain off his leg. And took a quick look around, and he turned around and walked back into the sea. And that's the end of that one. And he could leave the ball on, or change it at the end there where they came up and took the ball. I decided that he just came up and then even dragged the ball back down into the sea. But yeah, I have another one. That guy actually got killed by 10 million pounds of sludge from New York and New Jersey. In the end, yeah, he got killed by 10 million pounds of sludge from New York and New Jersey. Or a monkey has gone to heaven. There's this guy, and they noticed if you cut him, he healed like Wolverine. And if you broke him and you tore him, or you disemboweled him, like William Wallace, he didn't die. And they tore him apart like William Wallace as well in the same way, and all the apostles. And pretty much Jesus didn't get torn apart, but he did get extremely lassified and torn to pieces, trying to boil blood. But and yeah, he kept healing and stuff, and they ripped him apart slowly, and they took his arm, and his arm wouldn't really grow back, but it healed, and it became something looking like eventually they wouldn't stop this. Basically, they kept attacking and going with this. You know, they started it up and they didn't know why, but they kept doing it, and he just ended up looking like a potato, like a man in the one video, Metallica, the one video, and he's practically just a potato, but his heart kept beating. Telltale heart kept beating. Eternal Heart kept beating. Even though they ripped his arms or legs and head and stuff off. So they found out the best way actually to keep him was in like this kind of terracotta pot or armor. Kind of terracotta armor. He wasn't so torn apart as it made it sound like they actually ripped other people's limbs and off and tore them in pieces, and their hearts kept beating. Headless Horseman, a telltale heart, body parts. This guy wasn't so ripped up, okay, imagine. So he's got like no jaw, like a Marilyn Manson album cover, and he has no hand, and someone took a finger or something off this one for a token, and they were chopping bits off him, and they were cutting him, and he got stabbed in the brain so many times and smashed in the brain so many times. There's fuck all left of him. Anyway, excuse my swearing. There's very little left of him. He's very deteriorated, and he's still alive. And he can't talk or can't teach, and he can't communicate, and he can't write. His hands got ripped and fucked, and people bought the monkey hand and tore his fingers off. So they put him, like I said, in a terracotta pot or armor. So he was sitting in a meditation pose, or his corpse was sitting in a meditative pose, like the Buddha, in a certain direction. And they found it was just best to leave him like that. People come to visit him and look at the terracotta man, and to see the terracotta man, and people heard there's a man inside, and a man inside there, and he can't speak or talk or anything, and they wondered maybe wouldn't it be great if we could talk to him? Like, wouldn't it be great if we could communicate, or we could sit down and we could teach and learn and laugh with him? But for some reason we tore him to shreds and pieces, and now he's just a potato in a fucking vase with his heart beating. Wouldn't it be so cool if we could talk to him and he could communicate and but no, for some reason we don't know why, but we just tore him apart piece by piece slowly. And it was curiosity, maybe, a ball was kicking with a ball and just kept picking at it, and they didn't really stop. And I was like, why are we killing this guy again? Yeah, I've got a lot of stories,